What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a new movie that just dropped on Shudder recently that I did not have any idea what it was about. I hadn't read into this at all. The only thing I saw about it was it's from two directors who have worked with Shudder previously. And a lot of times when I watch movies on Shudder, as you guys know, I'll typically just click and watch and see what I think about it. Every now and again, I'll read some reviews, or if something's incredibly hyped up, I'll watch it. But this was just one of those instances. I saw this one was available to stream. I decided to check it out. And the movie I'm going to be telling you about today is Push. Push is directed by Justin Powell and David Charbonnier. A pregnant realtor must survive a night of terror when a deranged client shows up at her open house. So, like I said, I knew nothing about this movie. I went in to watch it completely blind, and here's what I will say. I found this to be very entertaining. I enjoyed myself. I thought it was really well shot. I thought the lead performances were really great, but it's definitely not reinventing the wheel by any means. If you've seen any sort of movie that is a person trapped in an isolated location with someone out to get them, you'll see a lot of familiar tropes in this. And that's the biggest issue with the movie, is when it kind of leans in to those familiar tropes that you've seen in films before. It can grow somewhat tiresome, but I do think overall it's an enjoyable experience. And it was enough for me to be like, hey, I'm interested to see what these directors have worked on before, because it's a very well made movie. And I'm excited to tell you a little bit about it today. So, at the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Natalie, played by Alicia Sands, who is a realtor. And we learn early on in the film that she has recently lost her partner in a car accident. And she is very far along, 9 months pregnant. And she's trying to kind of get her life together after she's lost this person that she's loved so much, who clearly was going to be the father of her child. And she's in the realtor business, but she's not doing great. And she's really wanting to sell this house that her bosses is saying is unsellable. It's in the middle of Michigan. And her family is incredibly pushy because her family's not from the United States. They're upset that she's marrying this, that she was in a relationship with this American. So we get a little bit of turmoil to her backstory early on. Well, she shows up to this property, sets everything up, and the first probably 15 minutes is just kind of examining this house. It's very beautifully shot. The cinematography is really great, and kind of capturing the isolation of this character. Well, no one shows up pretty much the whole night. Well, this man shows up and knocks on the door, played by Raul Castillo, who says, hey, I'm here to look around. And she invites him in, and the two of them start to have conversations, and he starts to say some very weird, eerie, kind of off the wall things, and it makes Natalie feel incredibly uncomfortable, and she eventually asks him to leave. Well, she gets ready to leave for the night, goes out, and her car won't start, and she starts to be terrorized by these noises and things happening around the house. And the entirety of the film is her trying to figure out, is this guy who came to show up at this house terrorizing me? What is going on? And can she survive the night when she is this far along in her pregnancy, about to give birth? So, like I said, I found this movie to be very entertaining despite the numerous amount of tropes that it examines that we've seen in these types of movies before. I'll start with the performances in this movie are really great. I think whenever you have a movie that you have one person trapped in an isolated location, obviously they're not going to have a lot of dialogue. So much of it has to do with the bodily performances. And I think that our lead actor here, Alicia Sands, does a really great job in these moments of peril, especially being really far along in a pregnancy, and sort of the way she treats how she has to approach certain circumstances. I think they probably could have dived a little further into it, but I do think that she does the best that she possibly can. She's very great at commanding a scene, and I think that's really what kept me so captivated, was she did a really nice job. There's a couple of moments where she does the, like, goes and investigate in a place that she probably shouldn't, and there's some things there that you're like, okay, they could have reevaluated this and restructured it to make it a little bit more believable. But for the most part, I thought she did a really great job. Raul Castillo, who plays the man who shows up for this open house, does a fantastic job. I feel like he really gave off the unsettling, sort of creepy vibes that you need from a character that's being introduced into a film that doesn't have a whole lot of characters in it. And it was really interesting. You kind of get the feel early on, like, oh, this is probably going to be the villain, but he does such a great job and really commits himself to the role to make it easy to be on board for the experience. I also thought this was beautifully shot, especially early on, capturing the ambiance and the vibe of the house. I think there's something so interesting whenever you have these movies of someone being trapped somewhere and being tormented by someone. where it's like you capture the beauty and the essence of like nature surrounding it, and then you're able to very easily introduce the dichotomy of like the evil and the violence that is lurking. And I think those ideas for me in film in particular have always been really interesting because there's something so serene and beautiful about nature and being alone in nature and appreciating the animals and the environment. But because we live in a world with dangerous people that act in awful ways, you can easily contrast that by just putting the wrong person in that environment. And so I think exploring that is always a really fascinating avenue. And I think that the directors, they're very patient early on in the film sort of capturing that environment, which was really cool because it sort of lulls you in, and then when the suspense builds up, it makes it a lot easier to kind of invest yourself into and just be hooked for the entire runtime of the movie. I also enjoyed the musical choices. I thought the sound design was pretty decent. There's a lot of great moments of like peril that are introduced. Like I said, my biggest issue with this, it has a lot of familiar tropes that you've seen again and again and again in these types of movies. I mean, I could go through a list of probably 7 or 8 home invasion thrillers that I've watched in the past 10 years that all kind of fall into this similar category. Even like certain plot beats, there's a French extremist horror film called Inside that I really felt like this had some moments where it felt like that. Or there's another French invasion film called Them that had a lot of elements that felt relatively similar to this. But as a lot of great creators have said, every concept that is created typically exists from something else. And the best thing that you can possibly do is kind of take your own spin to it and just try to execute it to the best of your ability. And I think that that's the case with this. These directors do a really nice job creating that suspenseful atmosphere that I think is really easy to kind of settle yourself in and enjoy. It takes sort of a supernatural route towards the end, which I appreciated them trying to do something different. It didn't necessarily work for me perfectly, but I enjoyed the experience overall watching the movie. And it's enough that they've made a couple other films, and I'm interested to see what the rest of their catalog looks like because I think they're very talented filmmakers who made a film here that I actually appreciated watching, despite the flaws that I thought it had or some of the tropes that are incredibly familiar that it was re-examining. But I still think it's a worthwhile watch on Shudder. And if you like home invasion sort of cat and mouse thrillers, I think you'll find something to appreciate with this movie. So have you seen Push? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was very entertaining. I really enjoyed myself, and I would probably watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.